This demonstration is going to use the fishing StenSkape. It's the Mad About Fishing StenSkape. This is available on our website. It's made out of the same material as Splodgeway. It allows you to blend your inks really easy. We've got the negative StenSkape here and all the positives come in the pack as well. For this demonstration, for the purpose of this demonstration, it's a simple demo, so we're going to be using the negative StenSkape only. In later demos, when we start playing with different colours and slightly more advanced techniques, we will start using the positives, and I'll show you how to use them as well. My black ink has eventually died on me. It's ran out. So what we're going to do is we're going to use chipped sapphire instead. So we'll just do a mono card, but instead of being in black, we'll do it in blue. So the technique is exactly the same. Okay, I'm going to work from the bottom up. Now normally I work from the top down, but I just want to show you that you can use it both ways. So what we're going to do, I'm just giving my fingers a little bit of a clean here because I've been demoing on previous demos and I'm a bit dirty and I have a habit of putting fingerprints everywhere. So we'll pick up our blue and we'll apply it to the mat, and then we'll blusher that into the surface of the mat. I'm using my black pad. Nothing to worry about because it's hardly got any black on anyway. It just means we'll get a little bit darker blue. I'm just going to add a little bit more just to tone it up just a touch. There you go. And then we're going to take off the excess across the mat. Now we come back to this and we use it all, so you're not using much ink at all, so don't panic. I know ink's quite expensive. The first thing I'm going to put in is this section here. This is going to be my rock and my sort of main landscape. From that I will work some grassing down the bottom, which obviously it's closer to the camera so it's going to be darker, and then I'll work in some bulrushes and some various other components. But first of all it's going to be this. So we'll apply some ink and we'll blend it in, going down over like so. Now we want it quite dark, but we don't want it sort of really dark because we need to have a darker layer in front of it. So as I lift that off, that'll give you the starts of our main picture. Now it doesn't look much at the minute, but it will do hopefully when we're finished. So I'm going to take a bit more blue, and we're just going to change the pigment very slightly by adding a little bit more blue. And I've got a little bit of black left, so we'll add a bit of this black. Just got to put a bit of pressure down because it's so dry. And we'll blusher those two in together. And then we will position where we want our grass and we'll work it in nice and dark coming over there. So to get it nice and dark, just keep picking ink up and going around in little circles with not too much pressure but not too light either. If you put too much pressure on, you'll either tear your cardstock or your mask will slip, and if you put too light on, you just won't see the colour at all. Now what I want to talk about is control. Now I've made a mistake there. Everybody makes mistakes, but it's how we deal with those mistakes. So I'll just emphasise that mistake a little bit just to show you how we can adapt it and how we can fix it. So let me show you. We'll lift that off. Looks lovely, but we've got a big dirty mistake right in the middle, and you think to yourself, you know, it looks rubbish, should we rip it up, should we throw it away? No, the answer is no, we can fix that. So what I'm going to do to fix that is I'm going to have a look at my different tools I've got available. So the bulrush, just a little bit too narrow. So what we could do, we could use this section of the rock here, we could just twist it over a little bit, and we could put a rock in. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to work that over that mark that we had. A little bit lighter than the colour below. And then when we lift it off, it's a rock. So it's really easy to cover mistakes if you make them. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in this section, let's say here, this bit here. This is one of the islands. It's actually the shoreline of the lake that we're going to be doing. So we'll just bring some colour in. Emphasise it across the bottom, blusher it in. And then we'll use this one here. I'll just move it up a little bit so you can see. Now, this is the technique that we're going to work with. We're going to ensure that the little bit of the previous island is showing and we've moved it down a bit. And this one's going to be darker than that one. Now, it doesn't have to be darker all the way across, but it does where it meets. So we just add a little bit more colour. Blusher it in, get a little bit more ink on this side of the tool, the narrow side, because we want to make it quite dark. We'll take that over like so, and then if we turn it flat and start working it over like so, tiny little circles, it'll blusher it all in and get it all nice and smooth. When we lift that off, that gives you an illusion of like the lake going round a corner and you can't see it, so it tricks your mind a little bit. Right, what we're going to do now, I'm making this up as I go along, I don't know if it's that obvious, but I'm going to frame this picture over here with a few of these bulrushes. Now I want it to go behind this bit of grass, this sort of like bit of land, this rocky area. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have it nice and dark up the top here. Yeah, just work it with the narrow side of the tool. Bringing it down. I feel like Bob Ross. Spent many a time watching that man. He's an absolute genius. So we'll work it down. And as we get into this bit, I'm just softening it off. So I'm not making it dark. I want it lighter than that bit. So then when I lift it off, all going well, there you go. So we've got some there. And then we'll bring a few more in a little bit lighter. Can you tell what it is yet? Sorry, that was a bad impression. Okay, so I'm now going to work in my little boat. Now, I'm going to have to be extra careful with this little boat because I have a habit of slipping right on this crucial moment. So, I'm going to apply a little bit of this black, a little bit that I've got left. I haven't got loads left, but we'll use it. We'll blusher it in. We'll apply a little bit of blue. Oops, we'll blusher that in too. And we will work this over our little fisherman, that's better. So he's sitting out in his little lake there. You know, I tried fishing once and I was the world's worst fisherman. Okay. And then when we lift that off, there you go, he's just sitting there. Now, something that's just popped out to us straight away is this doesn't look right here. Now, I'll explain why it doesn't look right. That's because the fisherman is darker than these bulrushes, so it looks like he's closer to the camera, when in fact he should be behind the bulrushes. So I want to make these bulrushes darker, but the problem I've got is if I make them too dark, they're not going to look right against this bit. So watch what I do here. I go back over my bulrushes, I just place my mask where I want to place it. Back over, a little bit more blue, a little bit more black if she gives me any. Yeah, she has a little bit. Blusher them in together. And then we're going to make these really, really dark. Now notice how I'm pulling downward strokes, and that's because they're very, very versatile, these masks, and they last a long time as well. But if you start catching these little bits and repetitively going over and over and over and over again, it's not too good for them. So we just ensure that we follow the pattern so we don't damage them. A little bit more. I'm just going to dip my tool into the ink here. I'll just bring it down. Now you'll see straight away another error. So it'll have fixed the error on the boat. Yeah? Fixed the error on the boat, looks like the boat's now behind it, but it hasn't fixed this area. So what we'll do, we'll bodge it. I tell every crafter, if they make a mistake, just cover it, fix it. So now we're going to put a closer rock, even closer than the grass, here, and this is going to be jet black. So we'll colour this in completely black. And then when we lift that off, There you go. So that's now repaired that section. We can take the shadow, which is this very thin sort of boat. We'll take off all the excess ink and splodge it, and we shall, if I can get my fingers in, just work it over nice and gentle, just hinting a little shadow in the water like so. Another technique we can do, now this is takes a little bit of practice. If we take off all the excess ink, we can use this ink for other projects, by the way. You can actually push it about, pile it up, and all I'm doing is taking off as much as I can so it's almost dry. And then all we're going to do is we're literally just going to very, very gently, left and right, just catch bits of the water like so. See how it sort of give it that illusion of water. And then last but not least, we'll work some black over at the top like so. Notice how smooth that blending is. I mean, we're working with black and blue here, very, very thick sort of pigments, very dark pigments, and it's just going on beautiful. What it reminds me of is an old black and white photograph, all this top bit up here. And then last but not least, this section here, the bit with the fisherman on, but I'm only going to concentrate on this bit. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of ink from here, and then I'm literally just going to very subtly take a bit over here. And what I'm hoping this is going to look like, I'll just blush that in just a touch there. What I'm hoping this is going to look like is trees. There you go. And that's a tree line. And that's pretty much it. Little bits that I've made mistakes on, we can just freehand in. Everybody makes mistakes, it's just how you deal with them is the main thing. So we'll work that in like so. And there you go.